Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jimmy, and today we'll take a look at the brand new, just launched today, FLSUN S1 Pro. All right, so this will be the very first print ever. I've already done all of the calibration. So through here, I went in order: the motor calibration, vibration compensation, and the bed leveling. Yeah, this is not sped up at all. Okay, I'm gonna close the door. So it has a max printing speed of 1200 millimeters per second. You heard that right. It is 1200 millimeters per second, not 500, not 600 max, but 1200 max. You also have the max acceleration speed all the way up to 40,000 millimeters per second squared. The max flow rate is at 110 millimeters cubed per second, with a printing build volume of pretty much the circumference of the 320 by 430 millimeters. So you can print the majority of this entire circular plate and go up 430 millimeters. So if you want to get a print going, you go right over here to this little print icon. This is where you can take a look at all of the different prints that you have. We'll just go through, tap on that one. I do want to have a time lapse, and now we hit on print. And then you can just see this thing come on down. It's actually very quick to get going for starting the print as well. So currently I only have the S1 Pro printing. I wanted you guys to hear only this one machine so that you guys can just see how loud it is without all the other machines being near it. It really actually isn't that bad at all when it comes down to the noise level. So a question that you may have is, what is the difference between the FLSUN S1 and the S1 Pro? So they were able to upgrade the leveling program. So they're able to improve the leveling precision, which gave excellent first layer effect. Also, the closed loop motor drive has been upgraded, so they enhance the stability of long-term high intensity use. Also, the core board has been updated, which means the improved overall smoothness of the system, and it's more comfortable to use. Also, when it comes down to that large air volume mute fan, on high speed, the high speed printing is still quiet. They also increased the duct caliber, so it is a 19 millimeter duct caliber, which basically silent mode under the model heat dissipation is still excellent. And for the FLSUN operating system, so for the OS, it had a comprehensive optimization to it. So now there is a smoother Wi-Fi connection. And also for the AI algorithm optimization, it has a higher detection success rate. It's a more fast response and smooth control. And then with the slicer, which is FLSUN Slicer 2.0, the Orca-based slicing has had a reconstruction. Also, the slicing path was also optimized, so it was able to help improve the printing. So I have 4 uniquely different printers, and I have to say that my favorite one has to be the FLSUN S1 Pro. This thing looks futuristic. You also have an area for filament drying, so pretty much you have the best setup and atmosphere for when it comes down to making sure it's not brittle, it's not moist or anything. Plus, it is one that you load from the front, so you're not having to do anything behind it or anything else. You also have a huge printing area on the inside. And now to take a look at the quality of prints. So I have kind of one of almost everything here that I have done so far. And the very first print that I have ever done was benchy. Now you can see that there's a little bit of imperfections. I believe because this was the very first print and going through the nozzle and everything, which is maybe why this one had some imperfections, but everything else came out the way it was supposed to. Now, they call this one benchy because it gives you the benchmark of your printer. How long did it take to print it? What's the quality of the print? Is it smooth? How is the designs on the top of the tugboat? And also too, on the very bottom, are you able to read your very first layer? So if you can read your letters and numbers on the bottom, then your first layer should be good. And you want to make sure that the boat and everything is super smooth. And again, with no imperfections. But again, you won't see that through the rest of this video here. It's just a little ironic that it happened with benchy. But again, it's the very first print of the machine. Now, the next file that I printed was one that actually came with the machine, and this is a lighthouse on a rock. So when you take a look at everything, you know, with the rock over here, everything is smooth. You can barely see some of those lines. The lighthouse over here is looking really good. The steps are also looking fantastic. You have a little bit of the design, on top of all these steps as well too. The very bottom, you can see that the first layer also came out super smooth the way it's supposed to. So in terms of the quality, again, this was at the full max print. There's only one print here where I didn't go 100%, I went 90, and I'll show you that here in just a second. But this is the quality of the lighthouse printed at full max, where it's able to go up to 1200 millimeters per second. And over to another print that was on the printer. It's this woven basket. Again, the very first layer came out good. There is no little stray stringies or anything, or little indents on the bottom. So first layer came out good. The inner layer inside of here is looking good with that design as well too. And then all the craftsmanship with all of this woven edges of this basket right here, also looking really good. It's very, very smooth as well. It's smooth on the top where it's supposed to be smooth. So yeah, this is the third print that I have ever done, because I did the lighthouse second, and this one was the third one. So you can see how it's actually kind of improving as you've done a couple prints. And now on to the fourth print that I have printed. So this one is a dwarf from Paladine. So this one came out really good as well. A little bit of lines over here, but everything still is looking super great when it comes down to this print. Again, everything was at full printing speed of 100%. So you have your 1200 millimeters per second. So you get some really nice detail in the face. A little bit of clippings underneath here that I just got to kind of clip off down over there, but that happens with every single print, with almost every single printer. But everything is looking really nice when it comes down to the lines, with the detail, and also with the smoothness. So you would maybe never think that something printing at 1200 millimeters per second, could come off this great, and it did. Also too, the next one that I printed was something that was taller. And so this one right here, the Empire State Building, I have to basically kind of turn it for everything to get into frame. But yeah, it comes out just as if it has ever done with any of the other printers that I have ever used. Very first layer is looking good. All of the lines and everything is smooth the way it's supposed to as well. So as you go through, there is no issues throughout this full entire print. Now, I probably could have made this one just slightly taller, but I kind of got the justification of exactly how it was going to come. But I almost put it, pretty close to the top of how tall this was able to print. But yeah, this one came out really great. And now for the big dragon. And what I love about this one is that this is one of those that I print all the time. And normally it takes a little over 8 hours for this size. So this one was able to print in just over 4 hours. I think it was like 4 hours and 12 minutes or something like that. So it's able to save half of the time and look exactly like what all the other prints have all looked like. So the first layer is looking really good. You also have that little textured design because you have the textured plate, so it's going to be a little bit of that shimmer shine. It's not going to be completely smooth on the bottom, but that's because of the printing plate. But yeah, everything is perfect when it comes down to this print. There's no issues. Now, the reason why I have two dragons over here is because with this one, for some reason, with this file at this size, which would normally take 4 hours, this one took just over 2. I noticed that there was a little bit of problems right there. So this is where I had a little bit of an imperfection when it came down to this print right here. And all I did was I went back to the printer and I pushed it down to 90%. So if you ever run into a little problematic file where sometimes you get a little bit of imperfections with it, on the display, all you'd have to do is instead of it being at 100%, you can just switch it over to 90%. And it's still going to print super, super fast. But then this way, hopefully it'll fix whatever your issue was. So you can see right here that there was no problems with the tops of this dragon here, when in before it did. So it could have just maybe been this print, could have just been the anomaly on that one time. But don't forget, if you run into a problem where you think it might be going a little too fast, just put it at 90%. And now on to Beardy. So Beardy is another one that I print. This one actually comes in two, little pieces. Basically, the head is printed separately and then it's snapped into place. So this one has a lot of really nice detail, which is why I like to print this one. It also has some of the moving smaller links. Also, the hands can sometimes be a little fragile, but this one came out super fantastic for how fast it was printing. I thought that maybe some of these would run into a little bit of snags, but no. At 1200 millimeters per second with high-speed filament, you are good to go when it comes down to even your detailed prints. And then when we take a look at one that is a little unique when it comes down to all the different intricacies of building out this crate with legs right here, one of my printers, I believe, takes like 6 hours to print this. Another one takes like 8 hours to print it. And this one was able to get it done in 3. So like all the other printers that I have that are supposed to be pretty fast printers going at 500 millimeters per second, 600 millimeters per second, this is able to get all of the jobs done in literally half of the time. So this one was just over 3 hours when normally it would take 6 hours on one of my other printers. It just happened to be that this other printer that I have is slightly slower when it comes down to intricate stuff, and it usually takes about like 8. So when you compare 6 hours or even 8 hours versus this 3, and you get this type of quality with everything in line, I mean, you just can't beat that. Now, when you take a look at the user interface, you see the interval changing of the speed of printing, 500 millimeters per second, 1200 millimeters per second, 200 millimeters per second. Really, it kind of changes based on what it's printing. It could be a different print speed for your inner wall, the outer wall, if there's anything like overhang wall, sparse infill, the top surface, bottom surface, so on and so forth. So that is why it'll never always be 1200 millimeters per second for every single portion of the print, but it will be variable to make sure that you have a good print coming out. This thing is big, it's beautiful, it's vivid, it's bright, it gives you all of the details you need to see in one display. Also, the user interface allows you to go through all the other different menus and screens. So pretty much you can see how fast it's currently printing. So 800 millimeters per second, 500, 200, it'll go down to like 50. It's variable. It kind of depends on where in the print you are printing. Also, you can see the progress of what you're printing. So you can see the file. You can also see the percentage and the time. So it's elapsed for 1 hour and 32 minutes. You can see the information for the nozzle and the hotbed. So first off, this is where you have some of the settings where, if you want to move a few things. You also have a temp fan. You also have some presets for different filaments you would be using. You also have this over here for filament where you can actually dry the filament. So where your filament is being stored right now on the spool, you're able to get it dry to make sure that it's at the perfect temperature and it's not going to get brittle or moist. It's also where you can load and unload. And then you also have your calibration for the motor calibration, vibration compensation, and bed leveling. And then for the settings here, you can take a look at your WLAN, so pretty much your wireless connection. This is also where you have your filament detection, the power off, resume, clog, and then there's some AI stuff down here on the very bottom that you'll be able to take a look at, and it'll be able to notice if there's any debris or spaghetti issues. Now, I will say that with turning on debris and spaghetti, it did actually stop 2 of my prints, even though there was nothing wrong with it. So this one is still under testing. So currently I just have mine off because I've actually never ran into an issue when it comes down to anything going with spaghetti or debris. You also have your general, so you also have like an auto sleep, the auto power off, your brightness, here's your guides, and then also the about. So this thing right here has 1 gig of RAM and 15 gigs of internal storage. And then lastly, what you have over here is all of your different files. So this will be some of the models you'd be able to take a look at. This is also where you'd be able to delete them. This is where you can also take a look at some of your videos. So if you want to take a look at any of the videos that you have done or any of the prints, you'd be able to watch it from right here. And then also going back one more, here is your logs. And this is just a little text file of all of the logs. All right, this one's done in 4 hours and 18 minutes. Looking good. And then this one is done in 8 hours and 8 minutes. So just over 8 hours. This one could do it just over 4. Okay, so time to switch the filament. So what you want to do is just locate this portion right there, take this tube out of that socket and cut the filament. All right, so you can see that it's cut. Now let's head down, go inside the settings, filament. This is where you go to unload. I already followed those steps. It'll heat up to the temperature and then basically push everything out of the nozzle. Now that it reached the temperature, everything is being pushed out of that tube right up there. And once you feel like it has been finished, you take out the spool and put in the new spool. With this printer, you have to always make sure that you are using high-speed filament. Now, I normally just keep this tube unplugged initially. Once it actually starts going through, then it'll actually kind of come together. So here I am hitting on load. So I hit on load, it's going up to its temperature, and here you can see that it's kind of pulling itself together. And then I'll slot it right back into the slot. You can see that it has pushed out. So at this point, I'm just gonna put that tube back in that socket. Now that it is back in, I will hit load one more time. Get it back up to its temperature. And there you can see we are all loaded up and ready to print. And now to take a look at the software that you would be using to customize your prints, edit the prints, and send them over to the S1 Pro. And that is the FLSUN Slicer 2.0. Now, if this looks familiar, it's because it's based off of the Orca Slicer. So Orca Slicer is also based on Bamboo Studio. So if you're used to Bamboo Studio, or if that's your preferred method, you'll basically have it right here. And that is my favorite software. So I'm glad that it's all incorporated right here inside of the FLSUN Slicer 2.0. Now up over here, you can take a look at the printer settings. This is where you have your nozzle. This is where you can put some of the details for your filament. And right here, you can see that I have it on the FLSUN S1 PLA high speed. So you want to make sure that you're always in high speed with everything you're doing, not only the settings, but also the filament itself. You'd also be able to take a look at your preview if you had anything there. So what we'll do is we'll just add in a print. Let's just go with this little dolphin that's right here. And for this one, if I'm on my mouse, this is my right click. So I'm pressing and holding with the right click button, and this allows me to just kind of rotate the entire print. If I was to do my right click, it just moves the plate, and then you have your wheel that goes in and out. Now, what I love about this one is that it's super easy to use. I'd be able to just do simply, Control C, and then I can do the Control Paste and Paste. So just like that, I have 3 different prints on the print or on the building plate. So what's nice is that, it has all of the shortcuts and everything that just makes sense. You don't have to learn anything new as long as you're used to the Orca Slicer. And also, too, on the very top, you can do auto orientate. So if I do like Control A and I do the auto orientate, or even just the arrange all objects, so I can just arrange all of them. And so then it's going to do it for me. So it's going to put it in order, put it in line, or I can also just, move these a little bit as well, too. What you also have is that you can split these into objects. You can split it into parts. You'll also be able to just move them. This is how you can rotate them. Then you can also scale. So if I tap this and I hit on this little button right there, I can actually scale this up to 100% if I would like to. And then I can have one of them being just a little bit larger. Now, once you have all of this done here and you have your print kind of all set up, you can hit on this little slice button on the very top right-hand side. Now, it's going to slice everything, and you'd also be able to go on the right-hand side and you can see everything by its layer. So you can actually watch the print kind of happen in front of you just to make sure that you're not going to run into any issues. So in the screen, it's going to give us all of the details. So we have these 3 dolphins right here. One of them's a little bit larger than the other, and it's only going to take 1 hour and 33 minutes. Now, normally, if I was to do this on any of the other printers that I have, the amount of time that this would probably take would be closer to maybe 3 hours, maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes. So getting it done in an hour and a half is fantastic. And as I mentioned from before, this is where you can take a look at your layers. So if you want to watch everything happen, within the layers. So let's say that we zoom in just a little bit more. If you just wanted to see what is happening at the time of the print, you can actually bring this on down and you can see when and where and how they're making all of the links that is happening between all of those little segments of the dolphin. So now that you have your print ready to go, you see how long it's going to take. This is where you can either export the G code file, or what I can do is I can just tap on this print option. So now that I've done the print option, there's 2 things that'll pop up. Either I can upload it, or I can upload and print. So all I'm going to do for this one is, if I wanted this to go to the printer, I would do upload. So this way it's going to go directly to the printer, and then at any point in time I walk up to the printer, I can let it print. It's because currently I am already doing a print that is in progress. So I'm going to leave this here and we're going to head over to the device. Now this is where you can see everything going on with your device right now. So you can see the status. So right now you can see how fast it's printing. Take a look at the flow. You can take a look at the filament. And then over here you have all of your temperatures for the extruder, the heater bed, the hotbed 1, the ARM V7. You can take a look at some of the code that is happening down over here. Now, as you scroll on down, this is where you have your webcam. This is taking a look at all the details of your tool head. You can also take a look at the speed factor. So one of the things that you can do is if this is going a little too slow, you can maybe put it a little bit quicker. And some of those other portions that will go a little bit slower will actually move a little bit faster, all the way up to, 1200 millimeters per second, which I wouldn't suggest going any faster. If anything, if there's a print going too fast, you can bring it down 1, so it's printing at 90% the speed. You can take a look at the extrusion, and then down over here, you can also take a look at more stuff. You can take a look at all of your fans. So there's one of the fans that's going at 100%. The box fan isn't going currently as it isn't needed. The box LED, right now it's at 100%. So I can actually bring down the light that's inside of the printer. And you also have a drying fan. Let's see here. Down over here, there's these options for your LEDs. So if you want that LED that's on the front to not be white and maybe you want it to be orange, now that light that's in that user interface, that main screen on the left-hand side, is now going to change orange. You also have a laser. Down over here, you have the heat sink fan is at 100%. You also have the motherboard fan is at 100%. You have your filament sensor and my sensor. So you have all of these, that has already been detected. You can take a look directly only at the webcam if you want to. You can also take a look at the console, looking at some of the code. Here is the heat map. Right here is your G-code file. So this is where you can see everything that you have on the printer itself. It'll let you know the last time, that it printed and how long it took to print. So you can actually scroll over here. You can see the duration of the print. Right now it's doing this print. And sometimes you can also see exactly what or how many times you have printed some of these things. So when it comes down to up over here, I've printed that one once. This one I've printed 3 times, 2 times, 3 times. This one's soon going to say 2. You also have the G-code viewer if you want to take a look at these. Kind of cool to take a look at. Oh, this is actually just looking at where I think this is where the nozzle is actually at. So you're actually watching it in real time. Here's the history. So the history with me and this machine is my total print time is 44 hours. So I haven't had it too long yet. But yeah, I've got 44 hours on it. My longest print time is 4 hours and 18 minutes, which is my huge dragon. You also be able to take a look at total filament used, 641 meters. And I've done 22 print jobs. So this is the chart. You take a look at it as like, a table chart or the chart like this. So far I've never ran into any issues with this software on the computer. I've never ran into any issues with the printer itself. So far everything has been 100% smooth. I just love everything that the FLSUN S1 Pro is able to do. And also the Slicer 2.0 is so far fantastic. Now, I do want to give a big thank you to FLSUN for sending out the S1 Pro right before launch, and enough time for me to give you my honest review and opinion. So first off, when it comes down to the print quality, 95% of the time, it is a perfect print. For some reason, Benchy has a little bit of imperfections. Other than that, everything else comes out great. You never knew that it was printed in 1/2 or 1/3 of the time. I mean, when it comes down to Benchy, it took 8 minutes rather than, 26 minutes. Also, when it comes down to printing 3 dolphins, it took 1 hour and 24 minutes rather than 4.5 hours. When it comes to my big crate, it was able to print it in just over 3 hours versus 6 hours, and so on and so forth. So when it comes down to the user interface of using the display, everything was flawless. I'm actually a huge fan of the display and how everything runs, how I can go through all the different menus. When it comes down to the Slicer 2.0, it's super easy to use, especially if you are used to the Orca Slicer or Bamboo Studio. So all in all, I would give this thing definitely like a 9.9 out of 10. And really, to give it a 10 out of 10, all that I'd really need to do is have a easier way of getting the filament all the way through to the nozzle, rather than having to cut it and put it through the tube and such. And also, when it comes to the prints, if there is one that has a little imperfection, all you have to do is slow it down by about 10 or 20%. and then you're still good to go, and it's still super fast. So again, that's my review. It's almost a 10 out of 10. It is fantastic. It is super fast, and it does actually have really good print quality. So hopefully you guys have appreciated this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe on the very bottom left-hand side. And if you appreciate this video, then more than likely you'll also like this video. And I'll see you guys later.